Now, tributes have been pouring in following the death of the President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo, Chief Emmanuel Iwuanyanwu, who has died at 82. Arise correspondent Friday Oloko takes a look at the life and times of the late businessman and publisher.
Chief Emmanuel Iwuanyanwu, until his death, remained an elder statesman, politician, nationalist and President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo, with a towering stature not just in the southeast but across the nation. Born on Friday, September 4, 1942, in Ikeduru local government area of Imo State, he studied civil engineering at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, before embarking in business ventures that grew into a conglomerate of over 20 companies, including Oriental Airlines and Champion newspapers. He had 3 unsuccessful shots at Nigeria's highest political office, the presidency. Iwuanyanwu was passionate about restoring peace to the southeast, and this is what he said in his last interview with Arise News.
Our forebears have worked very hard to build a very formidable Igbo who are respected in Nigeria. But unfortunately, what I'm seeing today is incredible. Yes, I'm aware that some Igbo young people, like young people in other tribes in Nigeria, feel they are not quite satisfied with how things are going. I think Nnamdi Kanu is part of people who have felt unsatisfied. But that doesn't entail going to kill or going to set up an army or plan to kill anybody. We live in a country, Nigeria, and there is a constitution in Nigeria. And anything anybody wants to get from any civilized society must be done through a constitutional process.
Reacting to his death, the National Publicity Secretary of Ohanaeze Ndigbo, Dr. Chiedozie Ogbonnaya, said Iwuanyanwu had a towering personality, while the governor of Enugu State, Dr. Peter Mba, described the death of Iwuanyanwu as a fall of a great Iroko and an incalculable loss to Ndigbo. A former governor of Abia State, Senator Orji Uzokalo, in his tribute, says Iwuanyanwu was a patriotic elder statesman and selfless leader who was passionate about the growth and progress of Nigeria. Some residents of Owerri metropolis describe Iwuanyanwu as an icon.
Honestly, everybody is sad. We have lost a rare gem. I don't know how to describe him. President General Ohanaeze Ndigbo. Some people see him as APGA Gamba, one of Igbo land, our foremost engineer. Some people call him Hadel and Enik. Some people call him Champion's newspaper. He's a great man, touched so many lives.
He was a very nice man. He's an asset. An Iroko tree has fallen in Igbo land. An Iroko tree. We missed him so much.
We are crying over his demise, but what do? We believe that God will replenish us with another Iwuanyanwu soonest.
Some Southeast leaders are now calling on President Bola Tinubu to honor Iwuanyanwu by releasing the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, since that was his desire as President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo worldwide.
Well, Sly Ezeokenwa is the chairman of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, and he joins us now to speak about the life and times of the man, Emmanuel Iwuanyanwu. Good afternoon and welcome to Newsday, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon and thanks for having me today.
Thank you, sir. It's a sad day indeed, and I would like to ask how you are feeling and how, what the sentiment is like, because this is a great loss, not just for the Igbo people, but for Nigeria as a whole.
Yeah, I don't think anybody could have captured it better other than the way you put it. It is a colossal loss, just like you said, not just for Ndigbo, but for the entire country and the entire African continent. Because as far as I'm concerned, the influence of the man called Iwuanyanwu pervades not just the entire landscape of Nigeria, but essentially the African continent, given the diverse areas in which he excelled while he was alive. For us in APGA, the Pan-Igbo party, because if you recall, at the formation of APGA in 2002, it was formed as primarily a party to galvanize the support of Igbo across the country, and then subsequently to equally, reach the length and breadth of the country. So Iwuanyanwu represents many things to many people at different points in time. Incidentally, much as I am quite young, I've happened in the course of discharging the functions of my office, I've happened to have, several encounters with him. I recall with nostalgia, the last one was at his office here in Abuja, and then we discussed passionately about so many things. I think prominent among our discussion was the fact that I kind of commended him for his stance on the detention of the leader of indigenous people of Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and the need for him as the President General of Ohaneze Ndigbo to galvanize other Igbo leaders to pay a courtesy call on the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, on the need, especially given the prevailing insecurity that has come to greet the entire Southeast with the continued detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and his willingness, even at his age, because he died at a quite ripe age of 82 years. But for someone who is, at that particular age, it's meant to have probably retired and resting, peacefully in his home. But then he took it upon himself at that particular time to lead in the Igbo at a point when the Igbo nation was in dire need of quite a fearless leader. And so that's why I joined, the portfolio of opinion on this issue to say that this is indeed a colossal and a devastating loss for the entire Igbo nation.
Of course. Now, you did disclose that you had some discussions with him at his office there in Abuja.
Yes. And
you stated that you commended him on his stance on the detention of Nnamdi Kanu. So given the loss given Iwuanyanwu's contributions to Nigerian politics over several decades, what do you think were his most unfulfilled ambitions? And I'm asking because I'm wondering how APGA plans to work on achieving those objectives that might have not been realized.
Yes, for me, Iwuanyanwu was very, very, very passionate and intentional about the continued marginalization of Ndigbo within the scheme of politics in Nigeria, and he was very outspoken about it. Iwuanyanwu believed that in as much as Igbos have contributed greatly to making Nigeria the country it is today, in as much as we have Igbos, traversing the entire length and breadth of Nigeria, in as much as we have Igbos conducting their businesses peacefully in every part of the country, he was quite irked, or I should say agitated, by the fact that Ndigbo had not been treated fairly across the country. If you recall, and I recall again with nostalgia, the stand he took when I think it was during the first year anniversary of the present governor of Anambra State, Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, and he made a very passionate statement at that ceremony when he was given the opportunity to talk, that Ndigbo have continued, or Igbos all over the nation have continued to conduct themselves peacefully and have accelerated the development and growth of our country, Nigeria, and that there is no part of the country where we will not see an Igbo man carrying on his business peacefully, and that if there is any tribe in the entire country that has come to accept the oneness of our country, the unity of Nigeria, and has been willing to establish their businesses all over the country, it is the Igbos. And so he believed, and he stated clearly, that he was not going to take it lightly again, and that as the leader of the Igbo nation, by virtue of his role as the President General of Ohaneze Ndigbo, that he was going to be very particular about any region, any part of the country, that seems to probably continue in that stance of marginalization against Ndigbo. And so that was the passion of the man about the Igbo nation. If you recall, he played a very prominent role even then during the Nigeria Civil War, or the Nigeria-Biafran War, as the case may be. And so this is a man who lived, breathed, and died a core Igbo man. And such, if you ask me, quite in my opinion, there were many probably regrets that he might have had before his unfortunate demise. And one of them is the fact that till today, we cannot really ascertain the place of the Igbo man within the context of Nigerian political system. But then, like I said earlier on, it is a process in evolution. And the one that he was very particular about was the continued incarceration of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And he was in the process of galvanizing other Igbo leaders to pay a courtesy visit on Mr. President to demand the immediate resolution to this impasse that has continued one way or the other to kind of enforce the insecurity situation across the country, not just the Southeast. And so I believe, essentially that he may still have had some regrets, but prominent among them was the fact about marginalization or continued marginalization of Ndibo within the scheme of politics in Nigeria.
Thank you, sir. Now, one thing that Sir Iwuanyanwu did before even becoming the President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo is that he also ran for President of Nigeria. He aspired for that office more than once. Now, one of the claims is that Igbo people, one of the claims you've made today, that Igbo people are marginalized in Nigerian politics. Now, and we still have not had an Igbo president since our return to democracy. Now, do you see that as a shame, particularly, in relation to the legacy of such a great man?
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely, I agree. For me, after the Nigerian Civil War, the government of the day then, began a process of, reconciliation, where Ndibo were meant to be integrated fully into the scheme of affairs in the politics of our dear nation. And believe you me, from 1970 till date, this is 54 years or after the end of the Biafran War, it is quite unfortunate that up till date, we are yet to have an Igbo man, ascend the topmost office in the country. It is good a thing because while Iwuanyanwu, while alive, while he advocated for the continued integration of the Igbo man or Ndibo in Nigerian politics, he equally believed in the unity of Nigeria. He believed that after the end of the Civil War, that since the country has fought fiercely to defend the oneness and unity of Nigeria, that it is time for us to let bygones be bygones and then have Ndibo integrated back again into Nigerian politics. And that was what made him on several occasions to contest for the topmost office of this country. This is a man who believed in the unity of Nigeria. And this is a man who believed, yes, while we are talking about the unity of Nigeria, we shouldn't equally lose sight of the fact that a particular section of the country, in spite of the war they fought to break away from the country, have now come back fully to accept Nigeria as it is and have contributed and have continued to contribute in diverse areas or diverse sectors of governance to the upliftment and advancement of our country, Nigeria. And that's what led him, I know, basically, to give a shot at the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I think it is my firm belief and it is my earnest hope that the best thing the country can do is to actually give heed to this quest of this noble man, this very patriotic Nigeria, this considerable businessman, this media guru that has come to traverse and pervade the country Nigeria, and to the best way we can pay tribute to his legacy, his times and life is for the country to actually find a way. I don't know if you look at the composition of the country now, starting from the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Vice President,
Mr. Sly,
the heads of the various legislative arms of the country.
Hello? Mr. Sly Ezeokenwa, APGA National Chairman. We know that we can go on all day regarding the legacy of the late Iwuanyanwu, but you've definitely captured what needs to be captured and use this time graciously. Thank you so much for joining us here on Newsday. We look forward to APGA carrying on his legacy and Nigeria as a whole.